All right, good morning, everybody. This is Noah Westwind. I'm here with Transparent Media Truth, and it's March 12th, I believe, at 11:30. And I'm here with Chris Haskell, John Knox, and Rob from TransparentMediaTruth.com. And we're here to discuss, or just kind of go over our stories about geoengineering and kind of the state of the world we're living in right now, because we have a lot of comments and things to discuss. And so we're going to keep this kind of short, and we're going to kind of talk about a little bit of our background and what we were looking at as geoengineering and trying to understand what's going on in our skies. And part of my background is 2007, someone brought up that there have been some straight lines in the sky from horizon to horizon, that just after a couple of days, that person felt ill and didn't feel good and had some concerns about what was going on in the sky. A couple of years later, I started looking harder into it, and part of my opinion on it is that it's garbage in the sky, regardless of what the nefarious purposes may be by other people's opinions. In my opinion, a lot of it is just like graffiti in the sky. It's trash. And then you can add on top of that the JP8 jet fuel, you can add bunker fuel, you can add all sorts of coal fly ash, you can add a whole bunch of stuff to the fuel, then it becomes a chemtrail. So it's still a chemical trail regardless of what's coming out of that exhaust pipe. Because something's got to get burned, something's getting left up there. And then, again, my opinion, I mean, looking at even the screenshot in the sky, you can see that they're like basically planning out these straight lines in pictures and stuff. And it's like this, I'm gonna ramble a little bit, but it's kind of like they've been indoctrinating people. I've seen it grow worse, get worse. I've seen things change in the sky. I don't think the skies are as real as we think they are anymore. The clouds don't seem normal. I do time lapses all the time that just grid patterns, and that's just, to me, it's just an awful thing to look at, right? If we want nature to be nature, that is not natural. So we've got a few other people on board here. Chris has been, like I said, the spearhead on this geoengineering, chemtrails, looking up. His story is something that everybody needs to become familiar with. It was a few years ago that woke me up to, we have some real true activists out there, and we have a lot of people that care. And the issue is that it seems like a lot of other people don't. We also don't really know what's going on. But what we're doing, we're just asking questions, and then we're challenging it just because we don't like the way it looks, and we don't like could be happening. And then when you look at the coincidences of certain things like Monsanto growing aluminum resistant seeds, you're talking about GMO foods, and why are those things prolific now, and why did that happen? Why did that come up? What was food before GMO? It was food. So Chris's story is really just the one that really touches me the most. Being an activist, putting out his signs in his local area, and that was in Tucson. Is that right, Chris?
Correct.
Yeah. So in Tucson, he'd been putting up signs for probably 10 years or more, if I'm not mistaken. And the signs are literally behind him right now, and all they do is just say, "Look the F up," basically, and look at this stuff. And unfortunately, through his activism, it landed him in some trouble, which wasn't really his fault. If you look into the story, it's not his fault at all. And the thing that pisses me off the most is, even if you have police officers and you have the FBI or anyone else looking into this, and I'm only going to say this, if they looked into it and they found that there was nothing wrong, why was there any trouble to begin with? Why were you even involved? Because they couldn't even prove that this substance, if you look into the story, substance, they claimed that it was non-active, non-reactive, it wasn't even deadly, it was nothing, right? So if it's nothing, then they have nothing on you, but they still used him as a scapegoat. And so they've used him as in my opinion, as a scapegoat for people like myself that would want to just go out and stand on the street, right? It's the same as other people that go out and protest. They get shot with beanbag bullets, they get shot with other things, they lose an eye, what does that do? That just hinders other people or stops other people from going through with their protesting, correct, right? So in some sense, they've basically silenced more people than they know, and unfortunately, that didn't stop us for them. We're going to sit here and talk about it. We want to talk about this stuff. And the thing that bothers me the most are the people around your age, and I'm not saying you're old, but people older than me, don't really notice this stuff because it's indoctrinating. They're being indoctrinated into it. Video games, cartoons, television, and now everything's digital. It's all been manipulated, in my opinion. So I can't trust what I see in television. So anyway, Chris is here to discuss this stuff with John and myself and Rob, just to see what they've seen over the last, I would say, 20, 30 years, and individually 10, 20, 30 years. And in my case, it's been 14 years since I've noticed. Right? That's a long time to start understanding that there's not really anything natural going on anymore. So I'll leave it at that. And I know that was a little long, but I just want people to know that my experiences are, my experiences and my opinions, but in my opinion and my experience, this is crazy. Whatever's going on is crazy.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that with Chris.
It's intentional.
Oh, intentional, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's not accidental. It's not coincidental. It's not Mother Nature. It's an intentional design of a program and a systems, a series of systems.
Right.
But anyway, I digress.
Let's bring up Chris. I'd like to hear from Chris because it's been a while since I've seen him and or heard his stories, and I want to make sure that we all get, from the horse's mouth at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll tell you, and what you're talking about, it's not easy to explain if you're going to introduce anything to do with this.
Right.
I didn't know what I was getting involved in when I first decided. All I did was common sense. Hello. When it was brought to my attention, I want to bring this to everybody's attention.
Correct. Yeah.
And I came up with a way to do this. And I was very successful at that. And as you said, oh, he didn't do anything wrong. No, I did something wrong. I knew that is my word was getting out.
That's right.
It didn't matter what my word was, because once I had it here, I'd turn that into a signs, and nobody was constricting me or censoring me. So as long as I believed in, hey, we're good, I'm going to go ahead and put that message out.
That's right.
And they didn't like the fact that somebody with no money, has no influence, can just walk in and be a news station.
A thorn. Yeah.
Because I was excessive. I continued doing this for, like, as you said, literally 10 years.
Yeah.
I've been putting up signs. So much, there was people in the background that are like, oh, when's some more of these signs, or what's he going to tell us next? Because I'd meet a lot of the people, and when I did interviews, I'd randomly grab people. Are you from Tucson? You live here? Okay. Have you seen the signs? And so in those interviews, I determined that 100%, it kept coming to the same thing. 50% of all Tucson residents, oh yeah, I've seen the signs. They'd tell me things like, man, crazy place. I've seen them everywhere. You
Right.
Here, there. Unfortunately, did my message get through? Well, that's questionable, because a lot of them would go, man, I've seen them here, I've seen them there. They're describing all this to me. And they go, by the way, what does that mean?
Nope. Yep.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Well, Chris, why don't you set like the context of around Tucson, Davis-Monthan Air Base, and also tell them about the Catalinas, about the no-fly zone, and yet the trails would show up over the Catalinas.
Oh, absolutely. Tucson is one of the towns that, cities that if you do watch the air traffic, it's pretty easy to figure this out. You don't have to be a pilot, but they only go a certain way. So when you're coming in or out of Tucson, they had to be a little careful, actually, because you've got a huge mountain range. Well, actually, you got mountain ranges on all four sides, but basically you got a huge mountain range, the Catalinas, up against Tucson. And as of a long time ago, the residents did not want airplanes. You don't want airplanes going there. They make too much noise, and it creates a problem. So they literally have gone out of their way legally. They are not allowed to just fly over that mountain range. You can cross it, but you can't go down the length of it. Okay, so that's what they've always stuck to. And one of the things that got me when I realized what the heck is going on and watching things, these little suckers would come and break all the rules that we made. They'd sit and go back and forth over the mountains. And no other airplane, not a single one, because we're talking Tucson is Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, huge air base, okay, which is literally, I'm at the end of one of the runways, my house is. So you've got the regular air flights, and then you've got Davis-Monthan, and they're very specific. They do not go down that mountain range. But all of a sudden, I'm watching this man, who's these guys spraying this stuff? And them little suckers would just come and break every rule, go back and forth right over the mountain.
That's right.
Yeah. Back. I've filmed them come to the end, literally turn around.
Yep.
And go back, turn around and go back. Same airplane. How is this possible? What would ever cause any airplane to do that?
And I got that on I was on the globe.absdexchange.com, which most again, I'm going to say this, most airplane traffic should have this transponder pinging its location to the ground radar. And we have two main platforms, Flight Radar 24 and this ABSD Exchange, which allows them to track this stuff. Personally, myself, the other day, I showed Rob and other people. There was a plane that left San Diego one day in like February. It went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, flew up to another location, and then it would land, sit a day, and then it would take off in the morning, and all day long it would go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then land back where it was, and then fly to a new location and go back and forth and back. Then the other year, 3 years ago, NASA was flying through our area saying that they were doing a test for particulate matter in the atmosphere. The freaking trails that they left around, flying around the Bay Area just to test for particulate matter, they were leaving particulate matter everywhere. Like the contradictory statement there. I was recording this out and people were like, well, that's crazy. It was doing weird loops. It came back, it crossed over itself, and then I follow it on radar.
I called out when the operation Hegelian dialectic. Yeah, let's create pollution to track it.
And then I just want to bring up one more thing. 4 days ago, was it Monday? I saw 4 planes flying south in this direction. 2 of them split off and went back and did a U-turn, and the other 2 just kept going straight on. Okay, explain that to me, someone. Why did 4 jets that flying too close together initially, 2 of them broke off and go back their other direction like Chris said? I don't understand how a stealth bomber over Sacramento is also leaving trails. That's what I saw a few months ago. So that blows my mind, right? So that just challenges a whole bunch of stuff. And so when you have people like Chris and you have people like John that are slightly older than myself that have never really noticed this stuff before, but then the proliferation of it and the actual amount of it is getting worse. And now I think they're changing their strategies and they're making these little dashes in the sky and they make these phony little pockets and things you don't really notice. And if you paid attention, you'll notice that most of the clouds aren't even real,
Correct.
So that's his observation too, right? That's an observation that he knows they're not supposed to fly in a certain way. I know most jets don't even fly that close together. So that's not a commercial plane, So
and when it comes to here, no commercial planes that ever spray the chemtrail. You don't see the white ever all day lasting trails, at least here in Tucson. I understand they do it different in different places, but you never see a contrail behind a commercial jet.
Yeah.
Not here. And here's the thing is I figured at the beginning, okay, hang on, this is before our face. This is so obvious, so clear. We live in a place where we have blue skies 90% of the time. I mean, this is used to be called the blue sky city. And you had clear skies you could see forever. And then they come in and you see the planes dump this stuff and they go back and forth. Next thing you know, it's completely overcast, just completely. And here's the thing. Where are we at in informing people? Here's my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody friggin' knows. They go, oh, well, yeah, I guess they've seen it, heard about it, seen it with their own eyes, and they know what's going on. And then they turn around and say to me, what can I do about it?
What can I do about it?
But what can I do about it? I go, whoa, slow down. Are you actually saying that? So you realize that they are dumping thousands of pounds of particulates, nanoparticulates into your air, which are now coming down. You can't stop them. They're going to come down. So they're going to be in your water, your air, your skin, everything.
Everything, yeah.
Everything.
But then you have the allopathic doctors. that will never, well, they'll never check for that, right? So your point is that this stuff, you can then send this person to a doctor, and the doctor is not going to give them the proper test, or they're going to just play it off this guy's a kook because they want to test to know what's in them. And then a person like myself, I'm nobody, and I went and got the water tested under my own dollar and paid my own money to find aluminum, barium, and strontium in the rainwater in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Okay, so where's the nuclear fallout in San Francisco?
Exactly.
So,
And then, yeah.
yeah. So then when you talk about blue skies in Arizona, I mean, you're not off the coast of like we are. And in my opinion, if I'm seeing trails or clouds that don't look real, they've been laid out miles out over the ocean. For what purpose, right? Nobody just flies around in circles out over the ocean.
Right.
So,
There's one thing that it is a kind of a thread through what we're talking about. And I used to say this in my presentations. We're all playing detective.
Right.
And some of us are Nick Nolte in 48 Hours. Some of us are Hercule Poirot on Murder on the Orient Express. You know, some of us are Peter Falk as Columbo.
Right.
We all have different styles, but every one of us has been trying to put together, I see this, I see that, I know this, I find that out.
Mm-hmm.
And each one of us comes to a pretty similar conclusion.
Correct.
And, you know, I think that's how the activism really brings each one of us into using our common sense. That's why I came up with that term, cultivate your common sense, or stay curious, both of those terms. But each one of us has been, in the last 15 minutes, has been basically saying, this is the type of detective work I did.
Yeah. But unfortunately, it didn't start naturally. I mean, in my own self, that wasn't something that I came to find on my own. It took one person to plant one seed, right? Yeah. And that's what I'm hoping the four of us are doing, is just helping other people say, look, this is just not normal. It's not natural. And then we can point names. You have David Keith, you had Ken Caldera, you had people that are openly calling for, you know, whiting out the skies and blocking our sun, you know, and to Chris's point too, I live in the Bay Area. You could go to Mount Diablo when I was a young child, maybe the early 80s. You could be at the top of Mount Diablo, like 4,500 feet, 45,000 feet, oh my Lord, 4,500 feet, right? You could see the Farallon Islands out past the Golden Gate, or you could see the Sierra Nevadas with snow on them. What can't I see today? Today, I can't even see Mount Diablo. It's so whited out. And that's only 30 miles away.
You can talk about the fog, the prolific fog that we once had that would roll all the way from the coast up to the Sacramento Central Valley. That doesn't happen anymore. Very rare, if it does. And then you look at the ground, it's no longer, there's no moisture. On the rare occasions the fog does roll in. Those patterns that you're speaking to, noticing patterns. And the challenging thing is, if you're 30 years old, if you're 40 years old even, you know, if you weren't paying attention to the environment in your first 15, 20 years, which most people don't, you don't know what a natural environment was. So we're relying, and you saying earlier, Noah, you know, if a certain demographic, ask them, is what I've been saying. Ask them what their environment was like. Do they even remember what the environment was like? Because today, you know, we all know the coined favorite phrases, new normal. You know, this is normal to people, and we know better. It's not.
Right.
So recognizing these patterns, and then you said how we're going to address this. I go to, you know, Occam's razor. It's a lot easier, I think, than people think. And it's just a matter of shining the light, exposing it. You know what they say about the cockroaches, you know, shine a light on them. What do?
And they go scaring away, hopefully.
I mean, that's what the March on Washington was. That's what look what the boomers did without technology back in the day. Okay, now we do have the technology. What are we doing with it?
Right.
Well, you know, there's one of the things that we're all facing is there's a much more pressing set of situations now in 2021 than there was in 2010. And it doesn't change what we all discovered, you know, in the time between 2010, the last 11 years or whatever. But, you know, the system, the powers that shouldn't be who are causing a lot of the things that we identified are now bringing other things that are much more pressing. And when we talk about geoengineering now, someone is worried about vaccinations and everything else that goes with it. And, you know, geoengineering is basically,
it's just shoved behind, you know, it's just pushed along, shoved aside, whatever it is. Yeah. Because it's not, again, this is how I look at it, is it's not exactly a immediate threat to some degree, right? And I wanted to ask Chris too, like, what other weather patterns have you noticed change in your area? I mean, I would assume that most of the stuff that we're witnessing from John Graff's side, by the way, he wasn't able to call, but if John Graff, and this is something I want to coordinate with people, has noticed something over LA, or, you know, in a sense, a plane is going in a direction that he knows is towards you, I want, you know, you guys to coordinate and say, hey, look, I see it too, or it happens to be landing over here, or it's going to the, you know, that's what I wanted to see, is like activism. We all coordinate to know which direction these things are going in and keep track of them on the radar together. But like, for instance, you know, I've said our skies are whited out. Are you having the same thing? Weather patterns, rain, more or less, you know, that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. And they're in full control of the weather. Nothing.
Oh, I know
nothing is normal. The plants, the trees don't even understand. They think they're in a different season. What's going on?
That's right.
And I mean, it shows highly in a desert area that, you know, they're so confused. The plants have no idea what to do. They don't know which, there's no more seasons.
And the people, and the people too, they've got it to the point now where the people are so confused they don't know what to do. That's a great point, Chris.
Well, they're going to confuse us again in 3 days or tomorrow with the time change again, right? So we're already thrown for a loop. We don't even know what the normal time would be in general. And then Chris is right. I've watched the almond trees bloom. The bees have been out, right? Now we're getting a cold chill and it's raining again. This is not necessarily something I've witnessed before in my life, and I'm only 42, you know? So I've noticed differences. I used to notice, we haven't had frost over here in years, where it used to freeze over the ice on the grass and the grass looked all white and crystally and we used to run through it because it looked cool. I haven't seen that in years, you know? So there's definite, and then so something else that Chris, I wanted to point out is if you look at radar stuff like, One Pacific Redwood does, I've seen right angled clouds, right angled spirals. I've seen square stuff in the sky, and his flat out comment is carbon dioxide doesn't cause square clouds or right angled clouds, you know? So I mean, that's the type of stuff I try to point out to people. You know, this is what I've seen, and this is not what they're going to show on the news in their radar, right? But I'm crazy because I didn't stay in my lane because I'm looking at something that's freely open to the public.
And
you know, one of the things that you can do for somebody who's actually interested is send them to the website weathermodificationhistory.com.
That's good.
Weathermodificationhistory.com, because context is everything.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Rob mentioned earlier, if someone is, you know, in their 30s, they probably haven't seen what we would understand to be natural skies. So if someone can get the point that the power structure has been seeking to modify the weather since the 1800s or even earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, what you're seeing is weather modification history live and in person in real time. And the other thing that I wanted to say is the lines in the sky are piggybacked from just after World War II, when jets first came around and I was a kid, where we said, oh, that's an F-85 Sabre jet up there. You can see it way up there. And the line that the jet left was maybe 10 times the length of the jet, and it disappeared. So you have this established delivery system in the sky, and you have people going, oh, okay, wow, that's pretty cool. And then they evolved this system of, you know, persistent contrails and tagged it, oh, well, those are just jet planes. And since we give you the term persistent, that explains why the condensation doesn't do what the laws of physics require it to do, demand it to do, force it to do. But NASA gives it a label. Oh, it's persistent. You know, isn't that amazing how those things work? So Today, people know, oh, contrails, yeah, that comes from the jets, and that's all they need to know. And they have no idea of the context of how this is evolved. And here's the other thing I want to bring up here, which kind of brings us to a current subject. When you establish a delivery system in the air, you can put anything in that system that the system requires, or that the people that pay for this want the effect that they want. So you can find when people would analyze what, like Noah, like you did, you analyze the rainwater. Clifford Carnicom has found desiccated blood cells. He's found, of course, all the aluminum, the barium, the strontium, all the nano salts, and they found nanoparticles. So now that the system is totally accepted overhead, and there's no real ground fight to stop it, they can put anything in the sky. If they want to do a little vaccine in the sky, there's no system in place to stop them. So that's what we're facing in 2021. But since we're older and we understand the context of where this has come from, it makes sense. A kid today, basically, it's an uphill battle as far as getting their knowledge base started. And that's why weather modification history.com is a great place to go to start.
And you're crossing a point that I said to myself, I am going to make sure I get this point across today. And my point being here, exactly what you're talking about. What I always told my friends, okay, they had already heard all about the chemtrails and stuff from me and everything. I'd say, okay, here's the most important problem with this. When you allow a daily system that comes and puts thousands of pounds of particulates into your air on a daily basis. Okay, when you allow that and you don't stand up for your rights, because you're allowing that when you don't stand up for your rights and stop it, whatever it takes. Okay, what about the day they decide they want to kill everybody? That's something I've said for years. What about that day? Because you have it all set up. And if they make that decision, then they're going to load the tanks and it's going to happen the next day. End of story. When you allow that to go on, they could kill you all in 24 hours. And they could.
I totally appreciate what he's saying, because in my opinion, they just turn on these towers at a full power, right? That's what I'm worried about. The next step is these towers, You're
going to confuse people.
Sorry. Right.
They do this in multiple ways, dumping things into our ocean, using towers with frequencies, a multitude of things combined cause the weather manipulation.
That's right.
They're synergistic, with the towers and with the trails. There's a synergism there that happens that's been designed to happen, where as frequency hits your cells at the right frequency, the cell wall becomes permeated, and it causes MATRA, magnet assisted transfection, and that's how the aluminum gets into the inner cell structure, builds up there, and eventually what do we have? Alzheimer's,
right?
Because your blood-brain barrier has been compromised through the last couple of decades.
With polysorbate 20, polysorbate 80, which has been injected into you, right? Allowing a lot of these things.
You name it.
And I'd like to just jump in real quick and stress, none of us are scientists, doctors, lawyers. We're just concerned humanitarians and can point you in the proper direction of the proof. You may think we're just four guys talking about speculating on something. No, we're passionate on pointing you to where the evidence is. And when John mentioned the Carnicom Institute, absolutely. This is a scientist that has isolated elements. That's proof. He can reproduce this at will. These elements appear in every living organism, and it looks to be responsible for modifying DNA. These look to be pointing to transhumanist endocrine disruptors and neurotoxins. That's what John's speaking to. That's proof. And all that we're asking for is for the discussion to be had transparently and in public. So if you go watch, especially part one, give you a good overview of what Mr. Carnicom has been doing for the last 2+ decades. Then parts 2 and 3, he's in discussion with experts, with doctors and a lawyer, very credible doctor, heavily censored doctors and lawyers. And that's a whole nother issue. We can talk about the censorship and why they're censoring us. Shadow banning is another form of censorship, which is very nefarious. But before I go on any more of a rant, there's the proof in the atmosphere from Mr. Carnicom. Okay, so let's have that discussion. And then you want to talk about, well, it's being done obviously with intent. Go to Nola Butterfly, check out her documentary, World of Hot Water. Okay, that proves, or it makes a very solid case that's being ignored and shadow banned and censored, that Doppler and NextRad are steering the storms. And the amplified voices, I call them the high visible voices, these are issues they're not touching. Why is that? That probably can go to the, you can probably say, well, that's probably why their voices are amplified. So look at the non-amplified voices, the voices who are having questions that are being ignored. These are the voices we need to elevate. These are the voices we need to support and at least get some answers to these questions. So we have to put numbers behind this. We have to support Raphael O'Neill and Nola Butterfly across social media, she's known by. We have to support Clifford Carnicom at carnicominstitute.org. There's so much proof out there. There's
Kristen Megan. I mean, you're talking Chris Haskell, John Knox, John Graff. I mean, you've talked about Amanda Bays or Madison Star Moon has been trying. At least people tried. You know, those people tried. And then for them to be ridiculed, shunned, all that stuff is appalling. So
yes, so many aspects
Chris,
of that.
Yeah,
so many aspects of that going on. It's unbelievable. They had already pre-thought all these things out, like the word chemtrails. We find that that's in documents from the military.
Dennis Kucinich, right? Wasn't it Kucinich? And it was listed as like the 4th or 5th item on there that chemtrails were an exotic weapon.
Yep.
Right.
Under weather as a force multiplier and weather by, full control by 2025, whatever that.
I was just going to say, let's not forget, what's the title to one of their main reports about this? Okay?
I think it was weather as a force multiplier.
Controlling the weather in 2020, period.
2025.
It happened.
Yeah.
It is labeled 2020.
Yeah.
Controlling the weather in 2020. Hello.
And you can talk about,
you
can talk about silent weapons for quiet wars as well. You can go down that avenue. You can pick up the book Behind the Green Mask by Rosa Quarry in 92 when Agenda 21 was signed. Case can be made where the systematic delivery of these aerosols began in earnest in the early 90s, mid 90s, and it just became more and more prolific. You go to the narrative, frogs in a boiling pot. That's what we've become. And then I can continue the rant talking about IV chelation and how we detox from all of this and how you feel after you detox from all of this. You've got that third eye called the pineal gland. When that thing opens up, you see things a lot more clearly.
Yeah, I think the context for someone who maybe doesn't have the years doing this, the context 2010 approximately, when I got started, Clifford Carnicom was already a legacy reporter, documenter, and filmmaker on geoengineering way before I came around. And Nick Begich with Angels Don't Play This Harp.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
For better or worse, Ilana Freeland was doing her lectures, and she wrote a book
Under
with
an
a long
Ionized
title
Sky.
that escapes me right now, but it's on geoengineering. And for better or worse, Dane Wigington with his presentations. These people were bringing awareness to this subject, which when I finally saw the chemtrails for what they were, I think it was 2009, I think. I had to play catch-up ball, and now here we are in 2021, And someone who wants to delve into the subject today doesn't have Michael Murphy, doesn't have Patrick Roddy, doesn't have Max Bliss, doesn't have
Max.
Terry Lawton,
What about these people?
you know, to get information from.
What about Terry Lawton, right? We have, there's so, see, that's the thing is we all have to compile these names. We have to do all this work to get these people back together, you know? And that's the thing is, I feel like the other thing too, is that the four of us too, I feel like we're going to have to play, or to be judge or what, I don't know what I'm looking at. We're going to have to play arbitrator, right? Or that's what I'm saying is we're going to have to start as, okay, I don't want to play this infighting anymore. We're all trying to be on the same team, and the thing I'm sick of is seeing people argue online over who's a shill or whatever. It's like, dude, you guys have the same message,
right?
You know. And the thing is that what happened? Why are these divisions coming up so obviously, in the cracks between everybody, and the fact that some people like each other, some people don't. But why? You're all talking about the same thing.
By design.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah.
By design.
Yeah, that's how I kind of became involved. You bring up the name Patrick Roddy. You know, that video came up when YouTube was working a lot better than it is today. A video of his came up in queue of mine when I was researching metal toxicity. I had no clue what climate engineering was back in, 2013, 2014. I was researching detox, heavy metal toxicity. Patrick Roddy's video came up and he's challenging me to test my rainwater. He's in my area, by the way, San Francisco Bay Area.
And he and I are friends. I know him personally. So
yeah, Patrick's challenging me on this video. I didn't know who he was. Crazy guy pointing to the sky saying, you better test your rainwater, and go, well, he seems awfully passionate about this. So yeah, it's pretty important. So I better disprove that and just pass that one away. Well, 3 rain samples later, hits for varying different neurotoxins. Aluminum is the most abundant element on Earth. So we get the narrative, oh, of course it's going to show up, not in free form.
Right.
Aluminum does not show up in the levels we are measuring in free form. That's manipulation. So I continued to do my research because I could not debunk Patrick. Okay. Right. So I can't, and I continue this research. I'm unable to debunk. And in fact, it's being proven as I continue to do my research. So all these names are being brought up, are bringing fantastic information to the table. But, you know, be discerning too with this information and know there's a reason. There's a significant reason. Now, this is my view and my opinion, but there's a significant reason why these high visible voices aren't merging together, supporting people like Chris Haskell, supporting people like Raphael O'Neill. And that's where my passion began in this struggle, is trying to unify the community. And this can get into a whole different narrative of discussing a military operation known as psychological operations. And, you know, the military graduated its largest PSYOP class in 2019. Interesting timing.
Yeah.
No, there are civilian PSYOPs as well. So be very discerning, but know that what we are talking about, we believe the argument and the proof. We would like to have the discussion. Debunking. Go ahead, John.
You make a beautiful point, Rob, that people today are probably not even that aware that PSYOPs are actually a real thing, real programs with real money, and part of the PSYOP program for social media is to create artificial intelligence, bots, as you call them, sock puppet accounts, where
AstroTurf,
you know. And I don't think today's social media people that are really on social media like we used to be, I don't think they understand how false all of the responses are that they're getting, and the arguments they're getting into, how they're just completely false. They're completely there to think that they're being heard, to give the impression that they're being heard, or to give the impression that there's an opponent that's worthy of their time and focus, when it's basically just to keep the person wrapped up. But the other thing I wanted to say is also context, where all of us, everyone who breathes and lives in this realm, we have cycles in our lives. And the cycles of Chris and me and Rob were 5 years ago, 7 years ago. And, you know, each one of our lives has changed. And in Chris's, you know, case, it changed very drastically because of his activism. And, you know, that's how my life kind of took its turn because of what Chris did. But the fact that we're not active today, and the fact that social media is
Not what
hammered
it
with
used to be.
censorship today,
Yeah.
it doesn't make it wrong, and it doesn't make it done, and it doesn't make it over, and it doesn't make it false. It's just, this is the cycle in which we are in right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the other part of the cycles that we're being hammered with is the information that's coming from the TV, or, you know, yeah, basically the television. And they've amped up all of the other events that we're experiencing, the medical mystery illness and a lot of other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
that takes our attention away from, but doesn't change the fact that everything is still happening.
Oh yeah.
So I think the context here is, yes, we did a lot, and I'm damn glad I did. I will speak for myself completely, and I'm sure Chris would, you know, back me up. Anyone who's bringing attention to a willful manipulation of other people's lives by the people that have the money and the power to do that, anybody who brings attention to that manipulation is going to get hammered. Chris is the perfect example.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we're here. That's why we want to I want to get myself behind Chris too. He doesn't deserve any of that. Nobody does. And the thing is that as myself, I don't deserve to be ridiculed for something I find gross. You know what I mean? And it just doesn't look good to me. But we, you know, other people take it a step beyond that. So I just tired of people saying, "Oh yeah, that's a nice, beautiful sky." No, it's not. Sorry.
You just reminded me of something that I used to say, and since we're on social media, I can do it. There's a Clint Eastwood movie where a character says, "If someone's pissing down my neck but trying to convince me it's raining, it's going to make me mad." And that's all I want people to get for the rest of my life. If people can only understand that someone's pissing down their neck daily,
Right.
and on multiple fronts.
Yep.
You know, you pick the rabbit hole and you're being pissed on. It's a
Right.
war against us.
Yep.
Completely.
Yeah,
And
that's a good point, Sean. It's a really good point. And before I forget, I just want to mention this is all based on an environmental fraud. It's all based off an environmental lie. You know, I don't know many 30-year-olds who remember Al Gore, the name Al Gore, and what global warming was all about. But, you know, we're rattling off sites here, realclimatescience.com. You know, check out what Tony Heller has been saying. You know, Gore came out, is my belief that when Gore came out to express this global warming and blaming us for the pollution, no less, all right, they knew Earth was going to be going through what's called a Maunder minimum, just the opposite of warming.
Right, the grand solar minimum, right? We've had the least amount of solar activity in the last few years, which also we've been told that a lot of the sun activity helps produce clouds in the cover, and a lot of the influence of the weather changing or seasons is more or less based on sun activity too. You know,
in order to understand all of this that we're discussing, some call it the matrix, okay, whatever you want to call it, they're turning it upside down on us. You got to invert it. I believe inverting this is the best way to understand this. If they're telling us it's warming, guess what? It was cooling. We're going through it. We're going through this Maunder minimum. And so then we can talk about when I became very active in 2017, supporting geoengineering.com, which was supporting the anti-geoengineering legislation, which was written by Rosalind Peterson. May she rest in power. That's another name. Go up 2007, she was the first one to address the UN on the fraud of global warming.
Persistent contrails that she called it, yeah.
Climate engineering. And so we can talk about they sponsored the anti-geoengineering language in Rhode Island. It never passed. It got stalled and kicked around. All the while, what's the Fed doing? They're fast tracking climate engineering and Geo,
And the weather derivatives, right? You have weather derivatives. You have all the stock speculations that you're going to have. No.
They're fast tracking and passing opposing language, knowing we were coming to stifle us. And what did Trump do in 2017 in the first wave of bills that he signed into law? Look up HR 353.
Thank you.
That's
the weather. I'm glad you brought that up.
That's the Weather Forecasting Act, okay? What did fiscal 2018 appropriate for HR 353? $3 billion to NOAA. That's NOAA.
If it was me, oh man.
It's a NOAA. I wish they would have given that. They gave it to the wrong NOAA.
Yeah, right.
But, they appropriated $3 billion to NOAA for what? Aerosol disbursement to do what? To address global warming. This is 2017, people, when we know we're going through a minimum. So that's my rant. I can go on and on and on about the legislative experience that I had. I spent more than a year pitching in Sacramento, trying to drum up support. And then that takes me to apathy because I could not bring the constituency. I tried to bring the constituency because that's what I was told by every committee in Sacramento. They saw no money in my pocket. We weren't coming in with money. We were coming in with a humanitarian issue. And every committee said, we love this language. We would adopt it. We would sponsor it in a heartbeat. Where's your constituency? So what does that do? That puts it on us. It is not up to any amplified voice. It is not up to any high visible. It is up to each and every one of us to push this message forward if it resonates with you. And if you think it's conspiracy, we can go down that path too. And I would ask you very humbly to define the word conspiracy. Take a look around today with your discerning eye and tell me that's not what you see going on today. And just replace that theory with the facts that the four of us are bringing to the table today. And that's my rant.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. When people will come to me and they literally want to look me straight in the face and say, well, we need to come up with proof. Stop right there.
Yeah.
Because I say the proof's beyond out there. Okay, beyond. We have every piece of proof we need. And so I'm not going to have this discussion with someone about proving, or you're going to go behind the planes and get some samples. I go, oh, you didn't know, huh?
Yeah, somebody did.
Okay, let me get you a little up to date here, guy.
Right.
You're a chemtrail believer. Oh, no. Okay, slow down. You apparently missed the report that they stopped denying it.
Yeah.
They're admitting to it now, and it's to save you from. They can't get the name.
It's saving
right.
you. It's saving you from yourself. Is basically what they're saying, right? Because we polluted too much. We had no option on the fuel that we burning, the cars that we drove, the things we put out our chimneys or whatever, right? But it's our fault. Okay, so if I had a choice,
no question about that.
Yeah.
Because, here's where I'm going with people. No, I'm not going to sit and have this discussion. Period. Okay, do your research and then come back and sit down at the table with me because I ain't got all day to explain this to you, but the fact is that they're already admitting it. Okay. And or saying, well, we need to do it. We need to do it. Okay. And yet now we're pulling these new documents saying, oh, wait a minute. They had started a new program in 2010, started a different one in 2013, different names to them. Yeah, you're crazy if you talk about chemtrails.
Right.
What happens when you turn it around and I go, oh, no, not chemtrails. Those aren't even real. I'm referring to the stratospheric geoengineering program, which is going on right now. And they're like, whoa, you can't. No, don't bring that into the conversation. Say, let's go back to the chemtrails. Because, because it's already labeled that you are insane.
That's right.
When you talk about chemtrails.
Yeah. That one word discredits every comment you've ever made about anything, really.
That's what they think.
Those are spell words.
Well, of course.
Correct. Pre-program, you even come up with the right words of what they're going to label us by. Okay, but here's the reality, guys. We know it's happening. Okay, my whole goal was get it stopped. This is not my problem. I took on my job of informing you.
Right.
Once I inform the public, there's so many different types of human beings, and some of them are really incredible in different ways. They'll handle getting it stopped. That's what I told myself. Fucking lies. Because
no, but that was the truth for you, though.
Nothing.
Right, but I mean that as I go forward, what we've all found out over time is that it's on us. So you didn't do anything wrong by assuming that these other people were going to help you. And what we're finding is that a lot of this is turning back on our own selves and finding the things that we're capable of doing. And Chris's perfect example, his ability to make signs and put those out there was his calling. That's his ability. And if that's all it was, that's his ability. Great. My ability is to make websites to help facilitate some of the technology so that people like John can actually talk about this stuff live with other people. And Rob may not know how to build that stuff. So here I am, right? Help facilitating these things. And the problem is that we have too many people that have been told you can't do that, right? This is not your lane. Fuck your lane. Stay true to yourself. Stay true to your opinions, and stick to your guns and stand your ground. Right? It's important to be who you are, and yes, your opinions matter. And like I've said, the funny joke is we all have assholes and opinions. Right? We're just gonna have them. We have them. So what?
Right. And where Chris was going with this, where I saw him going with this is when you hear this information, what do you do with it?
Right.
Well, when I heard Patrick Roddy several years ago, I had to debunk them and I couldn't. So what then do? I continue to do the research and it continues to be proven time and time again. What do you do with the information?
Right. Make it public. Keep making it public. Honestly, that's the best way we're all going to do it. And keeping Chris's face out in there and his name out there. John's, talking about his stuff on his channel, all that kind of stuff is just, it's gold, because at the time that I started looking, boy, I would say the internet was it was still 10 years in, it had some, growth to it where we could put media and stuff on the internet. But boy, back then you could search for your topics and it was going to come up, and it was going to come up with some very interesting stuff all over the net. Now you go to YouTube, and this is the thing. Context is key. You don't get any of that context in YouTube anymore. That context has started with CNN and ABC and NBC, and those are the mouthpieces that have been starting to be the forefront, right? YouTube was you.
Yeah.
It's no longer you, right? That's not you anymore. It's not me. It's not anyone else. It's someone else's platform. It's someone else's platform that can regulate, discuss, and disseminate all sorts of different information. And I'm going to say this out loud. We're probably going to put this up, and at some point we're going to have a stupid little banner at the bottom telling us that what we said was wrong, and it's going to be the authoritarian link to someone else's source, right? Okay, fine, they're going to do that, but they're just going to throw it in your face that this is their information, and then it's contradicting our information. So you're going to be stuck in a conflict with yourself, which is right, which is true, but then I go forward and I say, what's your reality? I don't know,
Well, we're dealing with our fellow human beings that their reality is shaped by the TV.
Yeah.
So there are billions that are being spent consistently to hypnotize, to seduce the populace into what's on Dancing with the Stars or whatever current, distraction is. That shows you how old I am. I think that show probably left the air 10 years ago. I don't know. But the point is, I've always given credence to everyone's in an energetic cage right now. Every person you talk to, they're being hammered, they're being seduced, they're being influenced, they're being hypnotized. So I can't come in, I used to, with my hair on fire, and you see how far that got me. You can't come in with your hair on fire and try and convince these people in one conversation of what is going on. You can't give them 5% of what you know. That's why I came up with that line, stay curious. If I can make somebody curious, right, then they're going to start to maybe look into a little deeper, which is what happened with Rob. Patrick Roddy, with one of his videos, made Rob curious, made him, I want to see if I can debunk this guy. But if Patrick hadn't put out that video, Rob wouldn't have done what he did.
That's right.
If Chris Haskell hadn't done what he did, I wouldn't have done what I did.
I wouldn't mostly be here for him too, for the same reasons, you know?
So the point is, whatever, and Noah, you made a good point that everybody does what they do, right? And there's no better way, there's no good way, there's no right way. It's what do you do? And here's another thing that when Chris talked about, I won't have that conversation with somebody. Well, let's, we need proof. If I'm walking on the street and I see a duck, I don't need a scientist to give me a lengthy paper to tell me what's in front of me.
Yeah.
I don't need that.
Mm-hmm.
I have enough common sense and enough information that I can take a look at this, I can listen to it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and I know what I'm facing.
Right.
The same thing over with what we talked about overhead, solar geoengineering. I don't need. I would love to have the scientists and the experts, and I can guide people to them, but for my own personal sense of well-being and understanding, I don't need somebody to scroll out a paper and say, here's what's going on. And that brings me to one point that I want to concisely tell the story. I had a confrontation with an engineer from Jet Propulsion Laboratories in Pasadena. LA Skywatch was going to, do an Alana Freeland show at this center, the Open Center in Culver City, and we showed up early, 2 weeks early, because this JPL scientist was giving a lecture called "Are We Ready for Geoengineering?" which just by its title says it hasn't happened yet, but we know about it and it might be happening, and we have to take a look at this. And I basically said to everybody in Skywatch, don't engage the wizard. This guy is from JPL, his pension, his salary, all depends on him being right.
Mm-hmm.
He's a presenter, he's on stage. You guys are in the audience, standing on the floor, not necessarily great public speakers, so don't engage the wizard. Just let's get our word in for Ilana Freeland and her. This is, 3 or 4 years ago, so we held Ilana in a different light then. But what happened to me in the audience was this JPL expert talked about geoengineering, and everything he described as being theoretical, I'd already seen overhead in the skies for years.
Right.
And I basically did not take my own advice. So when question and answer came along, I stood up and I basically said in so many words, this is ingenuous, because you're telling me that in the 30 years you worked at JPL, you never looked up in the sky after coming home from work and said, by God, that's everything theoretically that I've ever learned about. It's actually happening in the sky. You never had that moment? And the guy's answer to me was, I'm just a scientist. If you see something that's wrong, contact your senator, Dianne Feinstein.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
And in our interchange, he said it 4 times. And the last time he said it, he said, talk to Feinstein. And it was basically,
get out of my face.
It was a beautiful confirmation of, you're a pain in the ass. I can't give you an answer. I won't give you an answer because my pension and my salary depend upon it. So call Feinstein,
Defer. That's deferring.
Yeah.
So, and Feinstein's pension depends on it too, by the way.
Right.
Yeah. Not that she's worried about a pension, with all the graft and corruption she's got going with her husband, but that's another.
Training. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Chris.
And I'm going to jump to a very important point here is, and again, it's what I was just talking about, where I'm not going to have discussions with, wasting time talking about, frivoling around. Basically, I want to bring one important thing up is how do you get this information out to the real world?
Good point.
It's singing to the choir that I was concerned with. Okay. And yes, I have had a YouTube channel that I've been discussing the spraying of our skies for quite some time now. But
Yep.
to me, okay, in all honesty, that was nothing. I claimed this. I said, "Oh, are you kidding? Nobody sees my YouTube channel. That's not even A or B of what I'm really doing. What I was going to do is come up with a way to inform people in real life,
Right.
not on the internet.
Right.
Okay, real life, and shy of maybe just talking to people. Which anyone that's tried this about chemtrails, this is a difficult process. Okay,
Yeah.
but I was successful in something really important. How else could you get out this word? How else? You going to go to the news, guys? Are you going to go to the news and talk about it? Are you kidding me? And I'm looking, this should be the most important thing when someone's going to dump particulates into your air, your food, and your water. Okay. This ought to be enough important that you ought to get this information about this. You should have this clear in your mind, right? And the official news stories to this day in Tucson, Arizona, how many stories have ever been done about chemtrails, weather manipulation, and or geoengineering? Okay.
And Chris, you bring up a good point. Real
They
quick.
interviewed me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was it. One.
It is the only one in Tucson. You go on to all my Tucson stations, go to their website, and just put in search words. And when you put the word chemtrails in, it literally comes with nothing, no results. Geoengineering, maybe 1, 2. And the interview with me was, they figured that's important enough for a city of 1 million. That's it. It's the only discussion they've had to date about geoengineering and chemtrails publicly one time. And they thought they bunked me. Here you go. And we don't need to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, right.
And I want to bring up real quick, we all know who owns the media. The same people who are delivering these neurotoxins to us, all right? And I don't know if I just learned this myself. There were 6 major institutions, all whittled down, mainstream media and news and print, everything. 6 institutions, it's now 5. 5 major conglomerates now is all we have. That's what they're shoving down our throat, all right? So you got to dig. Now that said, you know, the old X-Files, the truth is out there. It is still out there, and it's actually in our face. We just got to go find it. And don't trust what's being told to you from that black box. Go get and John Knox brings up a great point about independent research. Find the independent voice.
Yes.
Follow that money.
And
you know, what I used to say to people is find the passionate, independent researcher and listen to them. They cannot be connected with a university, with the corporation, or with a government. If they're passionate and independent, then you have a shot at getting some good, useful information. And to me today, I would recommend people looking at John Rappaport, getting his emails, going to his website, nomorefakenews.com, a website, incidentally, which he named in 2001 or 2002, way before this term ever became current. Or James Corbett at the Corbett Report.
Right.
You know, those are 2 people I would say, you know, I know this is a geoengineering discussion. James Corbett covered geoengineering years ago. You know, and of course, like the rest of us, your life cycles move on, and you can't be covering that as with the intensity that you did because of how your life changes. It doesn't make what we did ineffective. It just means we have other things to deal with in our life.
So yeah, I'd just start to wrap it up a little and just say that, you know, we're here for Chris because he's been more effective than some of us. And I feel like I owe him a debt of gratitude, and there's no amount of money I can pay to help him. You know, I don't feel like I could support you enough, dude. I really I felt so guilty I couldn't even be in Tucson for that convention. You know, I wanted to meet you. I want to shake your hand and tell you, like, I'm here. I'm trying to want to help you in how can I help you? You know, and that's the one thing I want you to know, that you have me and Rob and John. We want to support you. You know, we don't want to leave people on these islands alone, right? That's not the scariest thing to feel, is alone. So when I see that there are a bunch of people that care, that's more important to me. You know, people care. And that's what I see, that you guys care. more than
Well-
anything. Other people don't give a shit. They don't care. And that's the scary part, you know? And that's the solipsism, the iPhone, the iPad, the me, right?
Right.
We got to get away from that, because I'm finding that the more we do this as a community and the more we work together as a community, and that's not an ism, I'm just saying that we will get things done successfully just by our sheer care and energy, right? But we've been torn up, like John said, we've been pulled in so many different directions, you know, and,
Right.
and we just need to find some things to focus on. And if we can spend a little bit of energy on it, if that's all you can do, that's great. And that's where we're putting forth our energy. We're trying to elevate these voices and trying to bring these people also into the limelight, or bring them back, because a lot of people just, like we've discussed before we did the call, there's so many people that have eventually just backed out, you know, and we don't want to lose those people. We want to keep those people out there, you know. And
My whole story, look at the end results. Look
Right.
at the end results. They found there's a person that went out of his way. It didn't matter what it took. He was going to get the message out.
right,
Did it. And look at the end story of my life. They came in and squashed me like a bug, shut
Right.
me down. And they're probably so happy right now, because why? Because my channel's nothing. It's nothing. I get 20 views.
I
in a
want to
month.
jump in real quick on
month.
that, Chris. I wanted to add real quick on that. Please do not judge a video by the view count. So many people,
I don't.
no,
videos
yeah, I know what you're doing.
view count, right? They go by, how many comments there are. Noah, John,
Correct.
you all know my comments are being scrubbed on YouTube as current as this morning on a channel that had nothing to do with climate engineering. They're just scrubbing. You would call it what you want, cancel culture, shadow banning. My comments are scrubbed across YouTube on other channels. So, views being scrubbed too.
I've been shadow banned in every
Yeah.
possible way.
Right.
It
Yeah.
just irks me. Again,
Right.
I don't care about my channel, so forget it. I'm dying to go out right now and do times 10 in signs what I already did.
Yeah,
I'm right now.
Right.
And I just got to ask myself, is it worth it?
well, in the end, I would
Is it?
say it was worth it, because at least you tried, and in your heart and in your mind, you put forth that effort. And so if the time comes that you've passed, and this is going to make me upset, because at least we tried. And the thing
Right.
that bothers me is nobody's
I did
trying.
it.
Some people don't
I
try.
didn't.
And
I
I'd
didn't
rather
try.
I'd
did it.
rather spend, some of my energy doing this versus not, because at least I tried. So
Right.
just
And
look.
I want to just say before we go on, Noah's website, Skywatch Map. That's how Noah's trying. He's been doing it for
.org,
a while. And all
.net,
that Noah,
.com, .org, skywatchmat.org. I've been trying since 2009 just to keep a website alive that supposedly NASA had started the same thing, which was a citizen reporting tool on the skies, right?
right.
And the thing that I want to take one other comment that I keep bringing, that I wanted to bring back, was we have Tahoe nearby. They augment the snow with silver iodide. Okay, we've had China discuss augmenting the rain, or creating rain, and also making it snow, which caused their economy to collapse because they'd never had it snow in one of their major cities. But they did this anyway because they needed to clear the skies up because of the Olympics, right? So they shot rockets up into the sky, it made it rain, and they cleared up the pollution. Okay,
They guaranteed it too. Guaranteed for the
Yes.
Olympics.
there you go.
We're
Right?
gonna-
So that is not an opinion. That is not something I saw in the sky and called chemtrails. That's a real life application of the technology. And that was 2010, somewhere.
Old
I'm gonna
time,
butcher it.
yeah.
Old time.
Yeah.
Old time. So,
Old information.
and that's the problem. We have older information, but we look up and we see that this is just, it's not new, Anyway,
Yeah.
look, I don't want to ramble anymore, but my point is that we as adults, we've decided to use parts of our focus on these things that matter, right? And I see a lot of people in my age group and a little older that have just basically wiped their hands and walked away. And I can't do that anymore. I can't see my parents, who are or my father or whatever was the protester against the war. We still have war. We have undeclared wars. We have all this stuff still going on. I'm noticing a lot more people are turning into statists than I've ever could imagine.
Yeah.
And I don't know how this indoctrination is working so well that this is the only thing I can do to help, And so this is what I'm trying to do is just say, look, I don't think this is normal. Please take a look at it and decide for yourself, you know?
Right.
And Chris is,
And to jump in, John's got a channel too. You
yeah,
know, John, talk about your John Knox Activist. He put up a fantastic video a couple of days ago. John, you talk a little bit about your channel, and you know that's where Chris's story is found. By
that's
the
right.
way,
Yeah.
Well, yeah. We never really did get into, how we all, how Chris and I came together, which is not,
That's, yeah, that's a
it's
separate
not,
story, but also, yeah.
it's not like I have to tell the story, but, it would give the viewer maybe some context. But in a nutshell, I'd been with LA Skywatch probably since 2009 or so. And when I found out about Chris and the amount of energy and the amount of labor and the amount of intense integrity that he put into everything he was doing, you brought up guilt earlier, Noah. You have no idea the guilt that I felt when I was the lead speaker of a anti-solar geoengineering summit in Tucson, and when I finally found out everything that there was to find out about Chris's situation, and it came to me that the guy that set up this summit, and I was the opening speaker, I think. He didn't even contact Chris, or if he did, it didn't, resonate or whatever the
I
story
had
was.
contacted him
Yeah.
Right.
with no,
And
didn't even want to talk to me.
and here's another level of guilt. And I don't know if Chris remembers this or not. I've told him the story, but I don't know if he remembers it. But we had the summit on a Saturday. It was May of 2018. On Sunday, we went down to a Tucson, Arizona state building and demonstrated, right?
Mm-hmm. I
And
remember.
Chris came up to me. I obviously didn't know who he was. And, Chris can be very energetic. And he had this laundry list, this phone book of stuff that he wanted to show me. And I didn't know who he was. And I couldn't make sense of what he was saying because he was so energetic at that time. And I shined him on. I went, yeah, hey, good luck with that, And when I finally found out about 2 or 3 weeks later, because I stayed in Tucson, and the woman whose house I stayed at, Jamie French, she told me about Chris and got me his contact information. And I contacted Chris and wanted to get a hold of him before I left Tucson. But the injustice
Yeah.
that I was part of, although not willingly or knowingly, was just astounding. This guy, probably the best geoengineering activist and like pound for pound, in the world.
Yeah, in a couple of our states for sure.
Exactly. This guy is made what any of the stuff that I did look like minuscule. I mean, I did different stuff. I did plenty of demonstrations and lectures and handing out leaflets and tabling and all that. But he was boots on the ground, making signs, getting them destroyed, putting up again, putting them higher on the phone pole.
Oh, I love that. That was cool.
I did things that were just out of control.
Absolutely. I mean, this guy was moonwalking, and I was just trying to figure out how to get up on my feet and start, to walk.
Yeah.
And part of me just said, no, this is not right. This guy deserves to be heard, and he deserves, a platform. And then when, the state of Arizona and the city of Tucson, moved in on him with framing him for, his activities, that's when I decided, hey, I'm living in my truck. I've got no family or pets or anything else. I can drive to Tucson and help this guy out. And that's where, my life story took a whole year in Tucson. And I'm damn glad I did it. I'm damn glad I did it.
Yeah, and I am too, John, because it's thanks to you that we know about Chris. My understanding was you overheard a conversation and thought, well, can't do anything about it now, but I'm going to get back to you on that. And that's pretty much what happened. And, I'm just going to interject a little bit what I know. I was not there, but what I understand is Chris was told, well, he wasn't told, but it went around that his story didn't resonate with a certain somebody, an amplified voice, an amplified voice who's actually telling us to get activated and go out there. He's telling us the actual activists that this is what telling us Chris' story didn't resonate. Are you kidding me? So just goes to show you that it's up to each and every one of us. Don't think that next high visible voice or that Geoengineering Watch voice is going to rally troops together. Their job is not to rally the troops together. That's our job.
Right.
That's a job that, I'm not happy to take, but I found myself in that position. And, it's too long in coming that we put up Transparent Media Truth last April, but been my intention from the beginning, was to network and grow the community and put the proof together and get all these high visible voices at least talking with each other.
Use their platforms to get
together.
That's right.
And I became a better person from this, for knowing everybody here and more. So we're building a community, we're building a network, we're putting our names and faces on it. I like to say transparency matters. Humbled. I am humbled to be a part of this discussion with you guys. And, we depend on the community to share the information. In spite of the censorship, in spite of the shadow banning, anything can go viral. It's a matter of intent. It's a matter of your passion and what information resonates with you. We can do this. It's not that hard. Occam's razor.
No, wasn't that hard. Yeah, just, you can get the message out to over 1 million people. Yeah, just give it a little work. That's the way I looked at it. Yeah, if it didn't work, I'll do it harder.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, I know we've obviously gone long and this and that, but there's a story about you and a street corner and a guy who didn't want signs on a street corner.
There's been multiple small things, and I'd love to share every one of them, but I mean, the guy that don't want signs on his street corner, I handle it by, well, I'll give you 2 then. What? No, you take 1 down, I'll give you 2. So the next day it was 4, 6, 8. I go, man, this is going to cost me, bro. You better not take my signs down, because you understand, it's not easy to put 16 signs on 1 corner. But he got them, and I put 16 signs up, and I said, understand the rule, 2 for 1. Take them down, 2 for 1. And that day at 16, because 16 couldn't even fit in the little corner we're talking about, he decided to neatly stack 15 signs up and kept the 1.
Nice.
And I said, okay, now you know who I am. I'm going to pick up my 15 signs. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Tenacious.
I'm not giving up.
Yeah.
I don't care. 36.
Tenacious, altruistic passion. That's what it takes. And that's exactly the DNA makeup of what we have here today in the community that we're growing. The tenacious, altruistic passion. Not about the money, it's about the information. None of us are, it's great to get the support, but the most important thing to do, especially if you can't send the money, get the information out there. Share it across social media.
I'm still waiting for my Illuminati paycheck, you understand?
That's right.
Oh man, that's a good one to leave it on. I'll just try to wrap it up with this. Chris, you have anything else to say? Would you like us to go to your website, YouTube channel, any future events that you want to go to, have us show up at, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think it's going to maybe expand here, but basically, according to our government, especially, I've been squashed to nothing. So I have my channel. I haven't not uploaded very much, a few specific videos, but and I got to say one thing here is, I looked at my opinion of who I am. I wasn't anything special. Are you kidding me? I didn't do much at all. All I was going to do is get my message out. I mean, I don't care how I did it, just gonna, and how about creativity, guys? We need to use creativity, because the things that make me giggle in the background, I'm telling you, Christmas time, you pull into a mall in Tucson, there was Chandeliers hanging from the trees about chemtrails. What? At the base of the main mall in Tucson, big 3-foot chandeliers hanging from on the entrance in. Okay, you name it. I'd stop at a rich neighborhood with this nice little road going to there, and I'd pull out a refrigerator box that I painted, and I put 20 boulders in it on a place that they don't even want a piece of garbage on the side of the road, and pulled out a refrigerator box, pull it out of my van, throw the 20 boulders in, and have a good day. And they're like, "What's it? What's this? Don't leave that there." I took my hood and chained it to a post on a major intersection and painted a sign out of my hood.
I remember that. I remember your car, your minivan, all that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you do. I woke up in the morning and saw, when I drove in somewhere, I go, "Oh my God, did I do that?" I look up and we have an upside down pyramid that's a bank. It's an upside down pyramid. And I somehow crawled up to the roof and hung a 4-foot round sign off of the corner of the pyramid. And I seriously did not remember. I go, I know it was me because it's my sign.
Yeah, nobody.
And here's a 4-foot round hanging sign with a rope. And how the hell do you even get it there? I think I threw stuff up over until it finally caught. But I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
You got to get the message out. And I didn't do nothing special. I saw what was going on. I said, "Oh my God, everybody needs to know about this. This is crazy."
Yeah. That's us. That's all 4 of us. That's all we're doing. And in different shapes, right? Different shapes and forms and whatever. John has a voice for it. I can do website stuff. Chris, you have the motivation and skills to make signs. And Rob is the one that facilitated all this stuff with making phone calls and being a, activist in that sense of connectivity, right? So that's how it all works.
I'll do my real quick closing rant, and you put up a good point there, Noah. I was cutting my teeth on this advocacy while you guys were way ahead of me. I got into this, fairly late. I have, half the time as you guys do. But, the first year was figuring out that the high visibles weren't going to network with each other. The second year was about the legislation and learning how the political system does not work for us. It's a faux democracy at best, okay? The next year was organizing, networking, humbled to work with John, and I assisted Peter Valentino. He's another barometer we haven't mentioned.
And Suzanne Marr, we forgot to mention Suzanne too.
Suzanne Marr, Bye Bye Blue Sky. Of course, this is a whole nother show, by the way, okay? But, then 2018, I can, wrap up with Peter Valentino and then meeting up with John, working with him and going to this Dawn for Us platform that Jamie Lee we were attempting to put together. We can talk about that. 2019, I can go through the years, and the experience that I've gained in the relationships and rapport with people that I've gained had led me to this point where I am today, where I know what's going on is undeniable. I see patterns, and I want to expose these patterns. I want to have the discussions in a public format. That's what Transparent Media Truth is all about. We don't have to agree on everything, but can we not just have the discussion about the topics, about the research and science that matter? These are the topics that matter. So transparentmediatruth.com is where you'll find all the videos that have been censored by YouTube. A couple of them are with Dr. Madej. You can go there. Part 2 of the Carnicom Disclosure Project is with Dr. Madej. That's on our URL. The rest can be seen on our YouTube channel, which is the same name, Transparent Media Truth. And I do also want to do a nice little plug for a new app I ran into. Came out last August, I believe. It's an audio-only platform. Kind of view it as the Facebook of audio. It's called Stereo. And I'm starting to I've been there a couple of weeks now, and I'm finding really, really fantastic people. And my point about bringing up Stereo is get out of your echo chamber. Echo chambers are not helping us. And that's what Facebook is. Social media, for the most part, is an echo chamber. Why? It's cabal tools. It's institution tools. With that said, I think it's a knee-jerk reaction to not use it because of that. That's what they want. No, we use their tools to the best of our ability. We learn how to dance and duck and cover and bob around the AI. We can do this. It's not that hard. Tenacity, will, and altruism. And that's what exemplifies the three of you as far as I'm concerned. So
what I appreciate from all you guys.
It's a long time coming. We're going to have more of these. And, let's just get the message out and keep on keeping on, my friends.
Yep. So with the long story short, short story long now. We're going to wrap this up and just say, again, I appreciate Chris's efforts on every part of, everything. Sign making, getting out there, being public. Hell, even going to jail. I'm sure you've been having problems with cops and police and the government and all that stuff. It's just, to me, that's inspirational. That's inspiring. That's true heroism. That's heroic. That's being, in my opinion, that's being a man. And you're being a man for everyone else who's afraid to be one. And that's something that in my opinion, I'm trying to be a better man, better person. And all you guys have been just you're making that happen. You know what I mean? That's what makes me feel so blessed to be here with you guys. I really appreciate it. And that's the thing, is I just want to bring Chris's story out there and bring John along and have Rob help all this, because if it wasn't for any one of you people, I wouldn't be here. So, that's how I keep going back to, it's a team effort, but we're going to do this individually as much as possible. And we're going to get the help that we need from each other, whether that's moral support, information, all that stuff. But we're not part of a group, a collective. We're not the group. And again, my Illuminati paycheck hasn't shown up yet, right? So fucking love that. So the thing is that there are people that we're going to butt heads with, but we're all in the same boat, right? And I love Tom McDonald's. He's a rapper. He came out recently. He said, the more you keep poking holes in the ship, we're all going to sink, right? Yeah. So we're just trying to keep all this stuff floating. We're trying to keep it good for the rest of our future. My children, if I have any in the future, that's the thing, is if I don't pass this off and I've done any good, then what's the point, Right. So Chris has been, I don't know, you're basically a hero of mine, you and John, and then a few others, and we all know who has helped and supported the team, so thank you. That's all I can say is thank you. So
I go around saying people like Haskell, Carnicom, O'Neill, as in Raphael O'Neill, Noah Butterfly, these are the people who are deserving of Nobels.
Yes.
These are the people whose voices are not being amplified. Why can't we at least amplify them and have the discussion and push these narratives to the forefront until we get answers?
Right.
We know why it's not been happening, but bottom line is it's our responsibility to do to the best of our ability to make sure that these discussions happen. Right. So again, humbled to be here and appreciate the support that we've received since beginning our channel in April. Hope to see people over at Stereo. I didn't finish the Stereo thing. It records your conversations. And so it's a perfect way to document what's going on and to network the world. I'm talking to people in the United Kingdom, in Peru yesterday. So this is beautiful. It's exactly the kind of tool I've been looking for. So I plan on putting a lot of broadcasts up on Stereo. Chris, I'm hoping you'll join me and we can maybe do a weekly broadcast there. Yeah. John, I know it's going to be a little harder to get you over there, but I'm still going to try. I'm not done on that one. Tenacious altruistic passion here. And Noah's already there, of course. So anyways, I'm going to drone on. This went about almost twice as long as we were hoping, but you know what? Once these discussions get going and it resonates, this is how it flows. This is what we do.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that says we can't do this again,
Right.
and do it shorter and more concise if we want to. But, this is where the conversation went. And hopefully the people that are watching this, get some value out of it. To me, when I used to open up, my presentations with, there are activists and there are experts.
Bingo.
The people today that you've been listening to were all activists, and we can guide you to the experts if you want. But for right now, all we're trying to do is get people to cultivate their common sense. And, Rob has heard me say that I'm looking for a way back not a way back, but what's next for me. And once I completely finish my van and I get my entire living situation more stabilized, I definitely want to come back and play. I don't know
Sweet.
where it's going to be. I don't know what form it's going to take, but I want to lend my point of view to everything that's worthy of being spoken about.
Yep.
And, you know, we're all fighting television and all of the hypnotic effects and all the seduction. And of course, we're fighting Klaus Schwab and the World Economic
Cool.
Forum.
Fourth
And
industrial reset, or sorry, the Great Reset and the
Yeah.
Fourth Industrial Revolution. And Event 201, if anybody wants to go look at that too, discussing this stuff.
Yeah.
Reality.
So there are new things to talk about, but here's the thing. Once you see through the veil, and if it's geoengineering that gets you to see through the veil, if it's 5G, if it's vaccinations, if it's, I'll reel off all of the AI words, but whatever rabbit hole gets you to see through the veil, I've always said it doesn't matter which rabbit hole you start at because they all meet at the bottom. Then you get the sense of, yes, there is an overwhelming power structure that Q called the deep state. And I will always say Q, Alex Jones, Dane Wigington, Dr. Stephen Greer. These are all good entry points to get your mind started and seeing that what CNN tells you and MSNBC and all the other folks is only the point of view that they want you to have. It's not necessarily real or true. It's just they need your frame of reference in this lifetime to be guided by them. So pick whatever rabbit hole is current. If it's geoengineering, fine. If it's 5G or if it's vaccinations or the censorship thing that we're facing, stay with telling people you might want to take a second look at this and look at it from this point of view, and then tell me what comes up. So my YouTube channel is John Knox Activist. I just posted a video there recently, but since last year or so, I haven't posted that much. But if anybody is interested in the Chris Haskell story, it is delineated on my channel.
Nicely done. Very well done. That was a great, I call it a series because that's what it was. It was the Sign Avenger series is what that was.
Incidentally, John Graff did a lot of the camera work.
Yes.
When I was still in LA, John Graff was the guy that, was my go-to, couldn't live without him, camera guy. And when I got down to Tucson, I basically did my own stand-ups, and Chris and I did a bunch of them together. I just looked at, we got 112 letters of recommendation and support from the viewers to help Chris with his
abuse.
Lawsuit,
The abuse. No, I'm gonna call it abuse.
Yeah.
It was abuse. It was
so
very
anyway,
abusive.
All of us are, kind of rambling and, we just need more practice. But, Chris, thank you for doing what you did. I never, ever will regret any of the time I spent in Tucson.
No, not at all. No, Chris, again.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
A lot of people did step up on my behalf. And it's very sad what the final outcome was.
Yeah.
We bought the best lawyer I believe in that money could buy. The guy that never loses a case. You pay him and your case goes away. Bye-bye. And in this case, they told him straight up, Jesse, he's going down. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
How's that not manipulation? How's that not criminal in its own right? Sorry.
Right.
So yeah, just let's have your final thought again, and we'll leave it at that, Chris.
My final thought is why it's amazing to me that people are just leaving geoengineering and the spraying of our skies. You're not even talking about it, when I believe the reality is this, guys. You have this other China virus going on. It's all interconnected.
Oh yeah.
And the one thing nobody has been talking about, how did they spread the China virus? Probably, I have no proof,
Yeah, right. But
who cares? Fact is, they probably used the system that was in place that we've already proven that is there. You can put red blood cells on top of a pile of particulates and it falls down. You've already tested this theory. Guess what else you can put on?
yeah.
Same thing. And every day they spray the life out of us. To this day, they don't even talk about it. And my opinion is they think, oh, we know, but we can't do anything about it. There we are. Why aren't you putting it all together?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty obvious.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all the same thing.
Well said, Chris. And I'll just close by simply saying, nothing changes until we do. It's all on us. We have to be responsible. Okay. So every one of us here are taking on our responsibilities in various ways and getting this message out. So thank you all again for the work, and looking forward to more of these discussions, because there's a lot of different discussions to have, that we kind of touched upon briefly here today.
Yep.
Thank you,
gentlemen, for your time.
Well, thank you all, and we'll see you guys later. And thanks to everybody for watching. If you made it this far, we really appreciate it. And I know this is
You made it this far, you deserve a medal.
Yeah, this was a long movie in a sense, right? This is so. Again, this is Transparent Media Truth, and this is Chris Haskell, John Knox, and Rob and Noah, and we're here to say thank you and have a good day. Have a nice weekend. Signing off.
All
Be
right.
well.